Hey, this is Joycey.
And Blake.
And welcome to
Savagely Scaled.
In this episode, we're going to be talking about gym etiquette. So, navigating the CrossFit gym culture requires a combination of respect, courtesy, and camaraderie. And by embracing all of these values of community, inclusivity, and safety, you can contribute to a positive training environment that supports all of athletes' growth and successes. So in this episode, we're going to be discussing the unspoken good habits that all CrossFit gyms encourage. So let's get into it.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I like how you put that now.
Yeah, I like it.
You're so good.
All right. Getting better at the writing.
All right, let's go back into the word of the day. So the word of the day is benchmark. So for benchmark, these workouts serve to measure and mark your performances and improvements. What we mean by that is we do workout of the day, and these are workouts that come from our programming. For benchmarks, they actually serve to where we're going to see them throughout the year. All right, we might see them once a year. We might see them once every 2 years, but you are going to see them again. And sometimes when I coach, and I know Joyce has heard this, we put an asterisk on it, or I'm like, you will see this workout again.
Right.
All right. And you guys have heard in past episodes me talk about the Bergner beep test. I see that like maybe once every 3 years, and I don't like to do it. But that is also a benchmark.
Right.
That is your word for today.
Yay.
So I think we're going to start with the happy ones, right? The do's.
Yes, I think that's definitely a great segue start to this conversation is what are some things that coaches encourage, that things that we should be doing at the gym, things that we can be doing to support the environment at the gym. So that's the first part. Let's get started with the do's. So first and foremost, when we're talking about like beginner CrossFitters, I think introducing yourself goes a long way. And we're talking about like, you know, if you're walking into a gym and you're meeting a coach or you're just meeting people, of course, putting yourself out there, trying to make an effort to meet people will be good in terms of making your comfort level at that space feel much more homey. And if you notice, I think a lot of us at the gym, when we have a new member or someone who's dropping in, at least I've had the experience of every coach saying, okay, we're going to introduce ourselves and let these new people know who we are.
Yeah, because I think it's more of like when you're first starting, and for a lot of people who do on-ramp, you just have that one coach.
Right.
So like your first meeting with that coach is usually like, hi, so what brought you in? We're going to be doing this. And you have more of that rapport with them. And then you go into your first class and it's very scary. So yeah, like for me, Joycey's a little bit different, but for me, I was very like quiet and apprehensive. So I was looking for that coach or those members to be like, hey, what's your name? Or
Plus you're intimidating too.
I'm intimidating? How am I
just
intimidating?
a little bit. It's just the faces. The faces give away so much emotion.
See, Rachel and Heather, if you listen to this episode, I look intimidating.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened with us, but I'm more the opposite. I'm more like, hey everybody, yeah, how's it going? How's your day? Who's your family? What's your social security card?
So I think Joycey's right. Like the introduction, whether it's you or whether it's coach or other athletes, should always be very initiated in the positive way.
Right. And we all have our style. Like Blake said, some people are more like, you know, give them a fist bump or a high five. And some people are like, let's start a conversation, you know? Mm-hmm. So just embrace that. Embrace what makes you you. And
do you want to be friends? Hi, I have weekends off and I would like to talk to you. And you're new. And what's your name again?
maybe a little
just
more.
Just kidding.
Just a dose down. Just a little bit. And I think that goes off with our next do, which is motivate your fellow athletes in class. So high-fiving, fist bumping, cheering, complimenting. I feel like that are, at least for me, I feel like those are things that really help benefit my workout and make my day. Like if I get a compliment on my lift or any kind of exercise I'm doing, I'm like, oh, thanks for noticing. You know, it makes that person feel validated, seen. And there's also just a lot of evidence that motivation is increased when working out with other people. So just being around other people and being in that productive environment is helpful.
Yeah, I think to like piggyback on.
Sorry, I was so passionate about that one.
I was like, piggybacking off of that is in CrossFit, nobody finishes alone.
That's right.
So that's like the biggest thing, cheering them on, pushing them. So then we're not just everybody staring at you if you're the last one. There's nothing wrong with being the last one. I've been the last one.
Oh yeah, we've all been there.
Because you're working out for yourself, even though you're in a group setting. So it's always never having that person finish alone. So cheer them on, push each other. That's what helps us grow. The one thing that I really need everybody to do is to respect the space, right? So treat the facility with care, put away equipment, dispose of trash properly, wipe down surfaces. Also, treating the space with care is your space and the person next to you. Mm-hmm. And for me, that's if I have a big class and we're doing lifting, I do try to reiterate, hey guys, like if somebody's lifting, you shouldn't be going in front of them or behind them, especially when we have those heavy cleans and snatches. We do not want them, if they have to bail out of anything. This also goes for, I know I just named cleans and snatches, but front squats and back squats. Walking in front of somebody for a front squat if they have to clean it, or behind somebody for a back squat and they have to bail out and they're more worried about you walking behind them than their own safety, that becomes an issue. So I try to do that etiquette of like, if we're weightlifting, like that person has to pay attention to their lift. Let's not walk in front of them or behind them. Let's wait for them to do their lift. And if they hit it, cheer for them and then go grab your weights. Mm-hmm. Biggest thing is safety. And 100%. That's a big gym etiquette. We are there for your safety and you are there for your own safety. So just be very mindful of that. The next one is stay unplugged. No headphones or phones on the gym floor. This helps you to be aware of your surroundings and focus on your workout. If you want to
listen. Sorry. I'm noticing all these typos on my writing today.
I'm so sorry. I was like, I get it. Why not?
No, that was me.
My contacts or glasses on. If you want to listen to a particular jam, let your coach know. I don't know about this one, Joycey. Because I do have people who are like, hey, I want to listen to this. Hey, I want to listen to that. I'm like, okay. Well, when I search on that, it just plays the one song and I'm like, oh, this is not good. Now I got to search for other things. But yeah, if you throw like, hey, can we listen to 80s? Can we listen to certain things? Yes. I'm
like
going
a genre.
Yes. I'm going to go more into like, if you want to listen to things yourself, you need to go do open gym.
That's fair.
Yeah. But again, that's just me being a mean coach. If Joycey being an athlete in the class,
I've never had to ask for my music to be changed personally, just because I this is why I go to 4:30, because I like the musical playings at that time. You know?
Yeah. The biggest thing is, like if you're on the phone while the coach is trying to explain a workout or while they're explaining the list, if you need to take a phone call, I'm okay with that. I have kids. If I have a doctor's appointment or a doctor that needs to call me or things like that or stuff, like life happens, please take it and go into an area where the coach isn't trying to explain it and you're talking over them.
Right.
So I will say, like, there are what is that word?
Exceptions?
Yes, there's exceptions to this rule. I'm okay with headphones as long as they, are not in your ear until the workout has started.
Right.
I'm okay with that. But I'm also going to come up to you if I know that you're going to do that and be like, hey, these are the things that I need you to work on for that workout. So it also goes into which coach. I will say, though, with that, if you are listening to something while I'm explaining something and you take your headphone out and you say, well, what am I supposed to do? I'm going to say, well, the whole class listened. So maybe we should take our headphone out while we're doing the explaining.
Right.
And then you're going to look at me very sad and most of you are going to be like, that's mean. And then I'll go over and tell you.
That's fair.
You know, because it's that whole respect thing. I'm there.
Yeah. I feel like I only use headphones. I think I've only used it once or twice when it's a running workout.
That's what I do too.
But honestly, I'm always like, it's literally 60 minutes of my day where I'm shutting myself off and saying no calls, no emails, no nothing. Yep. I'm just focusing on this and this is my me time, you know?
See, and that's coming from the athlete point and respecting that. I think that's good to unplug and just work out.
Like decompress from all that, like, you know.
which is all is a good rule. It is a good gym etiquette for yourself,
Right.
and your mindset. And then for me as a coach, it's also good because then I have your full attention.
100%.
Yep.
All right, let's keep moving on these do's. So scaling, again, we've talked about this so many times, having to scale a workout when you need to. So please do not argue with a coach if they ask you to scale a movement or if they ask you to scale their weight. They're watching you perform these moves and they're doing that for a reason, whether it's your safety, whether it's form. They're trying to keep you safe and moving effectively and as efficiently as you can be throughout the workout. So if a coach stops you at any point while you're in midst of your workout or any activity, it is possibly because they might deem it safe. So just have trust in your coach and in the process.
Yes, that is 100%. Please. And I was just I was just listening to something on the semifinals, and Gordon Lake was on there. And he was talking about like the best thing for like this is technique, right? And the reason why I might be scaling your weight or your movement is because your technique is not up to par yet. And with CrossFit and being safe, we want to build your technique before putting on heavy weights. Yeah, I just saw you lift it. Did you have good technique? No. Do I want you to hurt yourself? No. So let's work on that technique. And the biggest thing, and I get goosebumps from it and smiles. And I do tell the athlete, like, good for you, when they look at me and go, I should go down to work on the technique, huh? Yes. And I literally, for each one who's done that, I get like happy jitters and I'm just like, yes. And I'm so glad that you looked at me and you made that choice because you knew I was coming over here to say something. Because that's the biggest thing that scaling and modifying is for, I feel, is because technique. Yes, you can lift heavy things, but is it in the right technique? And are we going to build from here? Right. No, we can't. We can't if you keep like breaking down and then hurting something. We can't build. I can help you build with technique, So
That's key. That's key.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm like, you're trying to take over
Nope.
mascot?
I just saw kids and I was like,
This is me. Right. And for the next note for do's, keeping your kids safe. So we know that a lot of our gym members are moms and, sometimes work is busy. We don't have daycare available. We can't have someone watch the kids while we jump into the gym. And that is all good. We love our CrossFit kids. We love having a space for them to come and have fun. But ultimately we do want them to be safe. So we always encourage moms, parents, fathers to bring their kids with you, but all children need to be able to sit unattended at the front of the gym while you're able to do your workout. So if they require any kind of supervision, please have a responsible adult. Maybe you could bring an older kid or a partner in attendance to help supervise them. But if your child is screaming, please attend to them, take care of them, do what you need to do. Usually we do not allow children on the equipment or anywhere near it at any time, or on the gym floor during classes, just to ensure their safety, make sure that nothing falls on them, because we have instances and we just don't want them to get hurt. So this goes for any of our furry four-legged visitors as well. Just making sure we have a safe environment for everyone who's in our gym.
Yeah. So like with this, I have like certain rules with new moms. Like sometimes we have the kids and their stroller and I'm like, okay, that's fine to an extent, right? Because if we have weights being dropped and things like that. Both of my kids were raised in gyms, so they got used to that dropping. Some kids aren't. But it's also going to that coach and seeing what they're comfortable with and what their rules are. Yeah, I mean, there was one Saturday and the parents knew I was joking, but we do have a taped line. And I told all the kids, I said, if anybody crosses this line, I get to cut your foot off. Because there was heavy weight being thrown and I don't want, so it's the same issue when I just talked about like etiquette about somebody lifting. I don't want somebody who comes in And let's use an example of somebody who doesn't have kids and they're just coming here to unplug from work. Or I can also say like the person who left their kids at home with their significant other or a babysitter who came here to not be worried about a kid running around.
Right.
That's the biggest thing. They don't want to worry about, oh, I'm lifting this thing and somebody's kid is like running around and they're not listening and their parents not paying attention. Because, when you go to the gym also as a parent, like I bring my kids and my kids have gotten yelled at. And Harper almost got squashed when she was like 2 or 3 after I told her the rules. Like Chris Simmons grabbed her,
Oh, wow.
And so it is like you have to be very vigilant with your kids. I also have that whole like, hey, if she didn't want to listen, she was going to get injured. Was it going to be smashing her toes and now she's going to be, 3-toed Harper? Probably. But
oh man, she hasn't even started her CrossFit career.
But it's like if you tell your kids and you're like, I'm going to lift, that's also when I was in open gym, now on a tangent about that. But like in class, it's your responsibility if you bring your kids to respect the gym rules and have your kids respect the gym rules. And that's with all gyms because some gyms do have like a little babysitter area. Some gyms don't. And if your gym tells you like, hey, this is not okay. Your kid is running around. They're not listening. They're interrupting class. Me as a parent, like I would be kind of mortified having my kid run around in the gym and do that. Like even when Weston has like crossed the line, because like I said, we do have a white line. I've literally gotten in his face and be like, you could get hurt. You are not allowed to do this. You know where you need to stand and if there's an emergency, you wave at me, and he understands that. And there's a little bit of like, oh my gosh, I just got in trouble. And he goes and sits and waits for me. For me, it is like as the adult, you need to realize like, yeah, your kids are there with you, but all these other people do not want to worry about your kid because it's not their kid. Right. Me as a coach, again, reiterating on that, like I try to, as I'm coaching and cheering on, I have the rule, like if I'm coaching, I cannot watch your kids, because I'm trying to teach you guys something. But when I hit the music and then I try to get the kids to cheer for their parents or dance it out, I'm okay with that, with parts of that. Right. But I'm not okay with, hey, I'm trying to teach everybody to back squat and I have to worry about your kid running around. Right. Like that's not my responsibility. I know that that's hard to hear and I would love to as a mom to watch everybody, but my boss doesn't pay me to babysit children. Right. So yeah, and it might be hard to hear and we're not like nitpicking on people at our gym. This is for everybody. So this is like good gym etiquette for a lot of gyms. Is if you bring your kid, you need to also be responsible for your kid and be mindful. If your coach is like calling your kid out, like, hey, stop crossing over that line. Hey, you're going to get hurt. Hey, kind of as a parent, be like, okay, I got to take a moment out of me working out to go talk to my child.
And it's just so hard because I've already had a moment where I think you were there when Harper accidentally got something stubbed on her toe and I was there and I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, and then you're like, no, it's fine. And I'm like, yeah, she was playing with it, but I was here. And then I just felt so bad. And it was just like, it's just rough. It's really rough. And then
was that when she was like putting a 5-pound away and she let go of it and it dropped on her foot?
I think I was practicing handstands or something. And it was like one of those little bars that she likes to hang off of and we were putting it away. And then like, I guess they were like all stacked. And then like, since we were trying to squeeze one on top, it was like, pah. And then it fell right on her toe. She was like, oh, and I was like, no. And she was barefoot. I think that's why it hurt a lot. Yeah. And I was like,
way to call my kid out on this.
Well, I'm trying to be genuine. That's the only kid I think I dropped something on.
Yeah, and you technically didn't. My kids, like, if you drop something on your toe and it's open gym.
And
like,
it's open toe.
Yeah, like, that's your fault, bro. Mom's told you to put your shoes on. Mom's reiterated about things. Now you got to learn the lesson. And now she asks me for things like, can I take my shoes off? And I'm like, if you stay in that room, or if you don't hold weights, Mind you, my kids are also like in open gym, not usually around somebody.
That's true. They're usually on their tablet.
Yeah. Or they're hanging out with other kids that are playing. We tried to, as like a mom group, like go to open gym and have our kids just around us, not during classes, because a lot of us know like, hey, classes are for this.
Right.
But yeah, we all have rules like, hey, if you're putting weights away, you should have shoes on and you should be mindful of not dropping that stuff, because kid, that's gonna hurt.
Ouch.
Yeah. So they have to learn that lesson sometimes.
Yeah, but I do love seeing the kids. I'm not gonna lie, but I feel you with the having each other's space, and for the most part, I feel most kids do. You know, you tell them stay in this section, and they do their tablet thing or read or whatever. And
yeah, like mine bring toys, and we try. Yeah, not everybody's perfect. Not everybody's gonna be able to do that. When you're in the zone of working out, it's hard. So that's why me as a coach, like on Saturdays, there's sometimes when I'm like, oh, okay, well, then I put boxes out and be like, hey, we can't pass this box, because the line is hard to see for some kids. They get excited. But if I put boxes out, now they're like, oh, we have a little castle to build.
Right. Or you give them a task to do and they're like, okay, let's clean up this.
Or we do like a dance off thing and cheering. So, and each coach is going to be different. Just be very respectful. Some coaches are not going to want kids around, and they're going to tell you, and you as a parent have to be okay with that.
Prepared for that.
Yeah, and be like, okay, I understand why they're saying that. You either switch to a different time for the coach who's a little bit more understanding of why you need kids around, or stick with that one and stick to their rules.
You're like, usually 4:30s. You're like, that's my class.
Don't switch that to the... But each one, and you have to know, like, each one of us are coming from like a place of just safety.
Yeah.
Because I'm still not going to, stand for kids running around.
Fair.
And I'll know your kid's name, and I will be like, hey, so-and-so, stop running around.
You doing?
Stop running around. I know with Easton, I was like, oh, that's the second time I get both your feet. He got so scared, and then he's like, oh, it's a game. And I was like, yep.
You want my arm too?
Yeah. But it was, he was like, okay, I won't pass that line anymore.
Aw, so cute.
All right. So
enough about your kids.
I know. I was like, man, that was rough.
I'm like, I don't have any kids. So.
Sign up for class on time. Oh, this is a big one for me. This is a big one.
I think for a lot of you at the gym, even like all the other coaches feel the same way.
So for our gym, we do this whole, you need to register for class at least an hour before. So you can do it the night before, you can do it. So if you sign up for 4:30, you could do it at 8 a.m. Our cutoff time is 3:30 for the 4:30 class. You need to have it sign up. So probably 3:29. You need to know if you're going to class. If the system isn't working, I have a couple of members who messaged me and be like, hey, I couldn't do it when it let me. I do check to see how many members I have signed in. Sometimes we have a cap, and then I'll message them back, letting them know, yeah, I can add you. If you come to class early, it is preferred, but please be on time. We want to make sure you have time to warm up and can avoid a class disruption, which is hard because when we did Murph, I was super late, but I text Maggie, but she was homesick. I didn't know she was sick at the time.
I know you just walked on into the warm-up.
But I did text
Coach Chris.
Yeah. Like, I'm sorry, I'm about to be rude. I'm running super late, but I am coming.
That's fair.
Yeah. And if we have that, I'm more open to that. But my biggest thing is for equipment to be out.
That's fair.
If there's not an equipment and it's jump rope and rig work and things like that, it just usually happens to me when I have bike and row and barbell, and I'm like, I gotta figure out where to put all these people. I just have that OCD of, I like to see how the class is gonna flow, compared to like, oh, now I gotta take more stuff out and more stuff out at 4:30. Because that's the other thing. You could look at it the other way. So we have 7 machines out. I don't have to get more out because I'm just thinking there's 7. And then 4:30 comes around and I have 5 people standing around. I'm like, oh, what happened here? And then I have to look at the list again and be like, oh, okay, well, technically they did sign in because they did it at the front of the gym instead of on the app.
Can you check that?
I can only
How do you find that out eventually?
when they're looking at me like, oh, I did sign up.
Oh.
Because you can check it. I check it when I get there, like even 4:30 for 5:30 class. Like I'll check it sporadically on our computer or on our app, just to double check numbers. But yeah, sometimes for 4:30, it's like right at 4:30 when I see everybody, and I'm like, oh, hi. And I'm not usually mean about it.
No, you're not.
I'm usually like, oh, hey, didn't expect any of you guys or all of you guys to be here today.
Yeah, that's happened.
And we've had a couple where it's like, oh, well, I decided not to do 5:30, so I couldn't switch it. And that's usually when I tell them like, hey, message me and I'll switch it for you. So then I just know, or just message me, hey, I was supposed to go to 5:30. Is 4:30 available? Because there's that too. Like if we have a cap on class and you know, if we have a cap of 14 and you're number 15, I would be like, we have a cap.
That's
so fair. I can try and figure something out. But it's also like, I think the biggest thing for gym etiquette is respecting the other athletes, respecting the coach. Because I reiterated the story of like, if we only had 7, now I do have to get things out of our shed and bring it in. So 4:30 class is now starting at 4:35. And so are we ending at 5:35 and now 5:30 is behind? You know, it's just some things to think about. I'm not saying that like, oh, Blake just told me that I can't go to class because I didn't respect that. It is a little bit of respecting each other and respecting things like that. Some people are just going to work and want to go home. And I have to be like, yo, sorry, running a little bit late. Just saw that more people signed up. And I'm not saying big classes are bad. I love big classes. It's just making sure we have the equipment, making sure we have the room, making sure Blake's mindset's in the right way. You should always think of Blake's mindset now.
No, I think that's fair. I think coming as like, I guess like the person who's a member of the class, like I get it. Like there's moments where I'm like, oh, I'm not going to make it in time. Like, let me sign out of the class. So I always do that where I'm like, I know I'm not going to make it. Let me at least sign out if I know for a fact I'm not sure. But honestly, I feel like my life's so boring that I have all the 4:30 classes for the weekday are already pre-booked on Sunday, the Sunday before. So I don't even need to I don't even mess with that. But if I know I'm not going to go, I remove myself and don't even add myself to anything knowing full well I'm not sure yet. And I feel like that to me is the most respectful. And yeah, I usually message you. I'm just like, hey, I'm running. If I run late or I can't make it or whatever. And I feel like that works the most. But I'm with you. I think one of my peeves in class too is when you're like, oh, it's going to be a nice, chill 6-person class. Like, it's going to be nice just seeing like a small group. Because some days I am like, oh, I like a small group. And then sometimes it's like double or triple. And I'm like, oh my God, this is a lot. Like we're crashing on barbells sometimes and it's crazy. And, so I get that. And you're right. I think sometimes when people do just show up, we need to kind of pull a few minutes to have people get more equipment. And that does take time away from class. I do see that.
Yeah. I will say most of the members that I have in the later classes are very helpful and be like, oh, you need more? I'll help you while you're trying to get everything set up, which is really, really nice. It also goes back into respecting the space of each other when you have those big classes. But like even last week, like Trisha and Catherine, they changed from 5:30 to 4:30. I get excited to see you guys too. Like it is, it's just like a catch-22. It's like, okay, wasn't expecting that. But
so let's get ready for it. But
but I also like do the whole thing now, like thinking about it. Like when I have to talk things out loud. Guys, when I think about it, like when we have the machines out, there's times when I'm like, I'm just going to keep everything out. That's the same with the boxes until the end of the night. Now, if it's just like it's been small classes or when the cleaning crew comes in and they put stuff away, it is like, oh, okay, I got to double check. But it's respecting the coach, respecting the space, respecting each other in these senses. But yeah, I feel like I was just being a big brat just
You're
now
like,
about
that one's
it.
really important for me.
I think it's just a pet peeve of mine. But I still get excited to see everybody, which is the sad thing. Because even though I'm like, I wish they would have signed in on time. I wish they would have just messaged me. It's okay. And then I'm excited to see you guys.
And then you're over it after 5 minutes.
I just get more of like the pet peeve of it with if I'm not coaching 5:30 and now we're running late because we have to get things out because you chose to not sign in or not like throw a message out or things like that. That's where I come in because I don't like making people run late.
Yeah, that's how Blake feels about me posting the quote of the week and the day.
But there are classes that I run late in with coaching, and that's because I have a big huge class and we have a strength portion and a workout portion, and I'm like, that is anyways. I do love all you guys. It's just Blake's ADHD brain with things and
right,
just me like getting ready with stuff.
But overall, I think that just comes to like speak to how important or valuable a coach takes a class. Like they're there for you and they want to make sure that you're in the best environment that's conducive to your success and your training. And this is why Blake is so passionate about it. And honestly, like when I talk to Coach Chris or I talk to other coaches, they feel the same way. You know, they just want to make sure that they're providing the best possible service for you. And that means being prepared. That means having all the equipment ready and clean for you to use. Mm-hmm. That means them coaching you. And this is just us sharing a little bit of the things that, you know, they want you to acknowledge and recognize. And, you know, as athletes, I think sometimes we forget that. And that's okay. We're all here to learn and kind of, you know, also just be as optimistic and supportive of each other as we can, and sometimes we need to do that for our coaches too. Yeah,
Tracy can see that I'm worried about my words.
No, I think it's a good point. I think honestly, at least I can speak to myself as an athlete. Like I just walk in there worrying about like my workout and what I'm doing and everything, that I'm not mindful of my coach or their day or what they're going through because I'm too busy worrying about me. I'm just being honest.
Which you're allowed to be because we're there to help you out and things like that. So yeah, if you're having a bad day, and I just know like some of you guys know that you can message me. That might not be across the board with all of our coaches or for coaches around at other affiliates. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like we were like just digging in on ours. But yeah, it's also being mindful of what your gym rules are about sign up and things like that. Or if you do know your coaches or like maybe your bestie, and because I have had other members be like, hey, they are showing up, they're just going to be late. I'm like, oh, okay, awesome. No problem. Like just like giving us that little edge of, okay, I can start class. They told me that they're going to be late. It's fine. Like good. But yeah, another do is like train smart. So we want you there to warm up, and we're going to walk you through a good warm up. Also hydrating and getting plenty of sleep and eating. I know out here in Arizona, it's getting very hot. Yeah. So our biggest thing is, and I tell people, is hydrate.
Because you're sweating.
Yeah, because the gym feels like a hot box.
Yeah.
Wait, no, hot box is for stoners, right?
What? I don't know what you're talking about.
Is that why you hotbox a car?
Yes.
Yeah, so I shouldn't say hotbox.
That is the word for it, though, isn't it?
I don't know. The gym feels like a big sauna.
Yeah. Which you could still hotbox. Not that I would know. No, I don't know.
And as I'm like talking, I looked right at her and was like, "Isn't that?"
Yes, it is, but it's. I wouldn't sauna.
Know.
My goodness. You want a heart attack? Jeez, you're just asking for it. But yeah, I'm with you. I've been here a few years and I still don't like the heat.
Yeah.
And it's my biggest challenge. I feel, especially with running workouts. Oh man.
Yeah. I know I had to like sit somebody down and put an ice pack and have them drink and be like, "Hey, what'd you eat this morning? Did you drink anything this morning?"
Not enough.
And I think for hydrating, like even getting those electrolyte packets or electrolyte boosts into your water is a big thing. And for everybody in those hot states, I'm gonna need you to drink more than 3 cups of water. Can we try to get to 8 to 10
God, 3
for
a day?
Minimum? I know some people. I need 10.
I need at least 8.
I was gonna say 8 to 10 for a minimum.
Yeah. And I do take my electrolytes before the workout, which helps a lot.
Yeah. It's just something that we need to do.
Be careful and mindful of, yeah.
Man, I thought the do list was going to be very fun. And I feel like I just made it very...
unfun?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's what coaches are meant to do.
we're meant to make things unfun.
A little bit unfun. I mean, we're going there to suffer a little bit, but that's what I love, the suffering a little. So,
what are some big don'ts, Joycey?
And I was gonna say, on that note, let's go to our don'ts list, which is double as long. No, I'm just kidding. It's actually shorter.
And
than
we
the
call
do's.
people out on it. No, I'm just kidding.
Wait, where? I'm just kidding. All right. So the big one here, which I think Blake can attest to here, is don't ignore your coach, right? Although, you may be a veteran athlete or have been doing CrossFit for a few years and you understand the workouts or the moves, show your coach some attention during class. Noise and conversation can be a huge distraction. And I have been guilty of this before a class, talking with the comadres or the sisters over there and just having a whole conversation. And Blake's back there trying to explain a workout. Guilty. It's happened, but being able to just minimize the noise, try not to have any conversations or any distractions to the coach and other members while they're in class, or even just listening to the workout. Not to mention there might be drop-ins or new members who are new to the class. So we want to be respectful of their time as well. So just again, overall theme, trust your coach's expertise, follow their instructions during workouts. Don't hesitate to ask any questions or request any clarification if needed. But overall, your coach is like the North Star of the class. You want to make sure you're putting your attention to them, making sure you're paying attention, and just, taking their advice, taking their notes.
Yeah, that's a really good one. I mean, I love all the members that come to my classes, and even when I get to teach like some of the early ones at times, like everybody who goes to the gym, I really, really enjoy. But yeah, there are some days when I'm literally like, welcome
you have to
yell 4:30. And even then I do get groups, and like Joyce said, she's done it when I'm a member and I see people that I haven't seen. When I step over that line of being no more, because I'm not coaching, and I get to see you guys and be like, hey, and talk and make those faces of like, you want me to do what? Like I do the don't sometimes, and I have to like check myself. But it is like, if I'm telling you like, nope, you're not doing that, and you blatantly ignore me or ignore your coach, there have been members who are actually no longer members who have blatantly said, yeah, I'm not doing that, I don't want to do that. And you know what, thank you for being honest, and I will say okay, and I will walk away. I find with people who do that, you're not going to grow. Right. And I know that I only have my level 1. I have been doing it for some years. I have, scaling options. I've gone through like the postpartum, and I'm not saying that the moms can do it, but I do know other scaling or modifying options for you. If something's hurt or if you need something else to do, we can do that. But just having those people who are blatantly ignoring what you're saying, it's kind of hard, because then you have the other athletes around who are kind of like, oh, well, they got away with it. And I have to remind them, like, they didn't get away with it. They're going to be hurt, or, something else. Like quite a few members who have become non-members because they didn't want to listen to the coaches
or had injuries,
knowledge. Yeah. And then they'll be like, oh, CrossFit wasn't for me. It was just, not what I thought. And it's like, because you didn't really do CrossFit. You just ignored the person who was coaching you. You blatantly just worked out by yourself. Didn't care. So yeah, it's kind of like, yeah, I know that we're all adults, but if you're going to ignore me, I don't know why you're here.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that goes off with our next stone, which is do not interrupt the coach or classes. Again, I think we've talked about this before, trying to avoid coming to class late or disrupting the class, saving questions and your conversations for before or after class, just to help minimize the overall distractions, I think is the theme and the message here. We just want to make sure that everyone's attentive in class, everyone's paying attention to the workout, and that will make sure that, like Blake said, the class isn't running late. It will make sure that the next class up after is going to have a great experience. It's just a great way to ensure that everyone at the gym is having a good time.
Yeah, because it is like I've had ones where like half of my class is doing what we need to do. We're warming you up, guys. We're pushing through. Like if we do a push press, we have drills that we have you do. Yeah, I know that you're probably, if we're doing a strength, worried about that. Oh, I have 12 minutes to get to that. But the thing that is wrong, when you're taking weights out and slamming them on the floor as I'm trying to warm people up, they're not looking at me. No matter how high I yell, no matter how I grab their attention, every time you slam a weight on the floor because you're worried about you getting your weights is distracting from the person who just paid for this class. Better. You should know how to respect other people. Because there's times when I'm like, I'm okay if you tell me you don't like me as a coach. I'm okay if you tell me that you're not going to respect the skill that I gave you. I'm okay with that because you're the adult.
Right.
You know, I can only help you so much. But when you start to disrespect other people who are paying for it, that kind of irks me. That's the thing, like where you step over the line of like who's listening and who's not. Love them to pieces. And I know sometimes when we do strength, you have to get to a certain number and you're gauging.
You have a goal.
Yep. And you're like 8 minutes isn't enough. And I've been there for things. Yeah, 8 minutes isn't enough. It's hard. And that's like, okay, let's go into, well, you told me to come early. And I am like, okay, well, you did come early and now my 4:30 is ending, but yet you're still getting weights out as my 4:30 is ending. You're still interrupting my 4:30. You know, I can't tell you, hey, come at 4:20 to get all your weights around if you can't get off in time. But again, if you see other people working out or other people trying to pay attention to the warm-up, you're kind of being disruptive.
Yep.
And I've been there too. I've been that member and I've had, other adults call me out on it and I try to do better. And that's the biggest thing is like, I know you're paying for this class, but other people are paying for this class too.
Right. It's about sharing the space, remembering that this is a communal space, and again, just trying to make it the most safe space, the most supportive space, and also a space that everyone can enjoy. So,
yeah. Well, let's go into like things for ourselves. What we're going to not do is we're not going to compare ourselves to others. So with CrossFit, it's about personal growth, and it can be hard to not be competitive with others or want to do advanced movements before ready. So we're going to focus. We're going to focus on your workout journey and celebrate your achievements, right?
This is so hard to do.
It is. But I can also grasp where, like, I know we shouldn't be competing with others, but there is that push. There is that friendly competition. Now, when it gets into unfriendly competition, you're just pushing and out goes the technique. We throw the technique out the window. We throw the cheering each other on out the window. Now we're just being disruptive just to the point because we have to prove to everyone and ourselves that we're the best. That's where we need to draw that line of that's not okay. We are there for growth for ourselves and being excited for growth for our neighbors. Like it is. And if you don't care for your neighbor and you just want to have growth for yourself, then it's not looking down that, oh, Joycey has pull-ups and I can only do ring rows. Ring rows can be hard, first of all. And ring rows can be a foundation to get you to your pull-ups. I feel like sometimes people who come in their first couple months look at people who've been doing it for a year or for 5 years and be like, well, I want to do what you're doing. Well, we all had to start it somewhere.
That's true.
Yeah, so you have to remember that. Like, I didn't start with pull-ups. Like, in high school when they made us do pull-ups, I didn't even have one. So, like, it is when you go into CrossFit, everybody wants a pull-up.
Yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, that was my first thing too.
And I think because you start to see a lot of people do them, or they do this kipping pull-up or even strict. And I didn't have my strict pull-up for the first 5 years. I was one of those weirdos who got the kip before the strict.
That's the dancer in you.
So it's just, you're there for you, yes, in a group setting, but you're there in the group setting for a positive push, not a negative push.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. And once it starts turning negative, that's when you need to like take a step back and be like, wait a minute, like Joycey's not there for Blake's journey. Joycey's there for Joycey's journey. Blake's here for Blake's journey. And I need to remember that.
It could be a part of Blake's journey.
In a good push. But once it starts becoming negative, because I was
That's
there
fair.
with my back, I was like, oh, all these people who actually have gone further than me. It's sad because I was injured. And it's like, well, when am I going to get back to that? And I had to remember, like, I'm on my own journey. And I didn't think I was ever going to be on a journey by myself without other people pushing, but it's okay if I'm on that journey.
Right.
And every day's different, but
yep, it's an emotional roller coaster, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is one that I personally struggle with a lot, being a very competitive person by nature.
A competitive narcissist.
I was going to say nurture.
Nurture. I was like,
I just push people. I'm a pusher.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, I think my natural competitiveness comes out a lot, and I'm always trying to like just be the best I can be. And I think that's a good way of putting it, Blake, and saying like you need to figure out what that fine line is, because it can get really dangerous really quickly if you're doing things you shouldn't be doing.
Yep.
Luckily, I was very lucky to find someone who I was able to kind of pace myself with, aka like Grace.
Yeah.
And we weren't friends before, but we became friends because we were very competitive with each other, and we always wanted to beat each other in class. And a great friendship formed from that.
Yeah.
And I got really lucky in having her as like a person I can compete with and kind of grow in that sense, right? But I think, to your point, I think it's important to kind of take a step back and see like, where is this competitiveness coming from? Is it healthy? Is it conducive to my growth? Is it really hindering me in my progress? Like really sitting with that, because it can really take you down to a dark hole, let me tell you.
Yeah. Going off of that, it's also do not engage in negative behavior. So please do not engage in any negative, mean, or unsupportive behavior. This can create a toxic environment in the gym. It is important to be inclusive, supportive. We want you guys to be welcoming to all the members, regardless of differences and backgrounds. The gym is our home, and it is important that we feel welcomed and are welcoming. Like I've told numerous of people throughout this month, like looking around, I don't have family out here in Kingman, so like the gym is my family, and I've cried to so many of them, had ups and downs. So many of them have watched my kids. We've gone to outings together, and it's like my safe space. Like that's where I feel safe to be myself, safe to talk to people, building friendships. Again, in other episodes, we have talked about, as an adult, where do you form friendships when you move? Because you need those friendships. You need people in your corner. You need people to call you out. You need a village, and that's getting into the negative behavior with people, judging people. Are we human? Yes. Are we going to do it? Yes. Is it the right thing to do? No. But it just, when it becomes too much, and we need to remember, like, hey, we all have our own issues. We all have our ups and our downs, and just be mindful of that.
100%. And when kind of jumping off of other don'ts, and going off of the theme of communication here, I think another big thing to be mindful of is, again, when we're talking about talking to your coach, having that relationship, building on that rapport that you already have with your gym. If you're injured or you are feeling some sort of pain at any point in your workout, before or after, let your coach know. It's important, again, to create that safe environment. We want you to train smart. We don't want you to suffer in silence and just go through a workout just to go through a workout. Like, we, again, want to provide you with a space where we know you're going to be safe. And again, that goes off with all the previous things we talked about, right? Having trust in your coach, being able to trust the process and know that you're going to be in a space where people want to take care of you.
Yep. That training smart, really big.
And then lastly,
It's not gonna be the last one.
oh, there's more.
I'm gonna add.
Okay. All right, and the next one we have here that I've heard a lot before is ghostwriting and posting the wrong scores. So I think when it comes to ghostwriting or posting incorrect scores, it's just very detrimental to that athlete's progress if you're not being genuine with your numbers during and after your workout. So again, like Blake said, we are all on our own journey. We do not all lift the same weight. We do not all have the same genetics or body. And in order for us to be the most progressive and achieve the most growth individually, it is important that we're just honest with ourselves throughout the process. So trying to complete every exercise to standard and learning how to count or report your scores is important. If you lose count, the next number should be 1 is kind of the rule that I hear. Or at least starting back from, like, if you were at 23 and you're like, I don't know, starting at 20, right? So kind of going with the lower number, I think, is the gym etiquette when it comes to losing count. But again, I think the theme here is training with integrity is the only way you're going to see true gains throughout your journey.
Yeah, and I've been to numerous gyms, and there have been ghostwriters and posting the wrong scores. And sometimes when we're tired, there's times that I'm like, you did that. And they're like, oh, no, I didn't. And I'm like, I was about to be like, damn, I can't even get close to that. Not even like, oh, I know you didn't do it. It's just sometimes I'm like, wow, like I failed at that one.
A subliminal like call out.
Well, there's times I just feel like, oh man, I should have pushed way harder. And they're like, oh no, I forgot.
That wasn't right.
Yeah, I forgot that was a round and those were my reps. I'm like, oh, dang.
I see that.
I was horrible.
Yeah, it makes you think like, oh man, I really did not do a good job.
I didn't push at all. But there is, like, as a coach, I don't mentor. I don't stand over people and count their reps. So I just
you're counting on us to kind of do
that.
Yeah,
and I do, like, when there's strengths, I go and double check what you guys got for your list, because the math, guys, sometimes the math is hard.
Yeah.
And it's not me calling you out. I just want you to also be very happy with what you got. Because there's times when, you'll be like, oh, it's 115. I'm like, you better double check that.
Yeah.
And like, I hit 125. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, see?
Or I like to ask the coach or some other member, can you just check my numbers real quick?
Yeah,
like, to make sure I added it.
Yeah. Especially when y'all put weights all sporadically around it. I'm like,
it's hard.
We got a 10. We got a
15 and a 15, 35.
Yeah. And then another 10. That's some hard
then
math
2.5
right there. Yeah. So,
not the 2.5s.
And I know, like, my class people will be like, I'm like, what should you do for that? And they're like, should probably go get 25s instead of keep adding that. Yeah, I know it's harder when you do it, but there also comes when you come of age and you're like,
that is why all the 35s and 45s look brand spanking new.
Like, look at them and you're like, I can start with 25. Yeah. Or guess what? You have 15s on. Go grab 25s because you're going to take those 15s on and put your 25s. Yes, it's more trips, but putting 15 and then a 25 and then a 10 and then that's just a pet peeve of mine. And it's because I've been to so many different, not so many, but I've been to other gyms and the coaches just taught me that. Like, okay, you're going to take that off and you're going to put the heavier one in because you already hit that and you can add instead of putting 20 10s on each side.
Yeah.
Because I was a 10 person. I always added 10s. I was, and they're like, this adds to 25. Well, now this adds to 35. You might as well just take that off, put the 35
and it looks cool because there's lots of plates on there.
Yeah.
So you're like, yeah.
Yeah, they're like, you think you look strong.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do. But yeah, coming from an athlete, I can see where it is. It's, like, if you're like, hey, I know, like, how many rounds I did and the person next to me did not do that. There's sometimes when it's like, okay, well, you got to stay in your own lane. Remember, you're in this, but it's like, but I finished like in a timed workout, and you can see who's finished in a timed workout, and your time, and you're like, oh, well, so and so came in way after me, but yet they put that they finished a minute before. Sometimes, yeah, they might have gotten the time wrong, or I don't know. I haven't been that person to be like, oh, well, I have to beat that person so bad that I fake my time. Like, just don't put in a score then. No. But it is, and it is sad. But if that's what that person needs to do to get through the day, then I guess that's what they need to get through the day. But yeah, you'll see in their progress, they're not going to hit their progress points as much, you know? So just coming from a coach's stance, it's like, I can't stand over them and be like, hey, I know you didn't hit that, and I can't count their reps. But I know from members' stance, that's frustrating.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel for you guys if that's what's going on. But to tell you the truth, that happens at so many gyms. And I don't know why, but it does. It really does. So the last one I want to go over, and this was just like, I know Coach Chris has talked about this. David's talked about this. I think Jason has talked about it before. And I've just known this for a lot of gyms that I've been at, is you should not be cleaning up your stuff if not everybody is done. You wait to clean up as soon as the last member's done. I get this. There's a couple tidbits that I have with this rule. Is my later classes, dinner needs to start, things like that. There's times when I'm like, leave your stuff, I'll clean it. If you have to go, just bye, don't even say anything, I'll clean it. Because it is a distraction. That person who's coming up, or the people who are coming up on the later times, can feel like, oh my gosh, like I'm taking so long that they're cleaning up. It puts that athlete or that member into like more of like, oh, I'm taking their time, like I should have done better. Like it starts to pick at their confidence. And with our newer members, that's a big thing. Like if we're telling them that they don't finish last, they don't need to see people putting things away. So I get that. I get if a class starts late or is ending late, that you're like, hey, I have to go to the babysitter, I have to go do this, like I have things to do. I get you have life. Again, I will clean your stuff up. There's times when people have to go to work and I'm like, hey, I know that you need to go to work, leave your stuff, I will clean it. You do not have to worry about it. I don't want you to distract people, and I don't want you to feel like, oh, you're going to be late for work. Leave your stuff, I will clean it. Just let me know. Like the biggest rule is let your coaches know things, you know? But yeah, like that is a big coach's pet peeve. Also, it's like, hey, we're cheering for people. They do not probably want to see you spraying stuff down and feeling like, man, they sucked at that workout that everybody finished before them and now is cleaning up and we're closing, you know? So yeah, try not to do that. Just like whisper to your coach, like, I have to leave. Like, I'll be like, oh, leave your stuff, I will put it away. No problem, guys. I will put stuff away. I try to help put weights away at times. If like we got lots of weights out, I've had tons of members help each other. Like, thank you so much to that, guys. Like you guys do cheer for each other. You help each other out with putting weights away when we have that strength portion and then we have to go do a workout. There's a lot of members at our gym that abide by these rules. These are just good for any, like if you're, again, we're going to newcomers. If newcomers, like, be mindful of this, and you'll start to grow with it. And these also help for newer members to realize like, oh, I am important in this community, because I've heard these girls talk about this community. Well, let's make these new members feel important in the community. And by abiding by like etiquette of things, and you just grow your community, you grow that those new members coming in with learning these things. And that's the biggest thing, is growth, right? I'm growing every day, not in height, but trying to grow in my
ditto.
Trying to grow in my mindset and mantra.
There you go. That's all we can ask for, girl.
But yeah, I'm done with that. I'm done with my rant, guys. Maybe.
Wait, we still got a little bit more. Not just
Nah.
kidding. Well, this is like the final leg of the do's and don'ts.
Countdown.
Right? And this is where we talk a little bit about equipment, which honestly across the board is going to be very similar in particular in terms of how we treat equipment at the gym. But overall, let's get started with the rig. You know, I think one of the big things with the rig is staying in your section of the rig during a workout. I think for everyone's safety and also personal space to make sure that everyone's able to do the workout. I think being able to just stay within the designated section that you've decided to will ensure that the workout flows more efficiently and also ensure that everyone has a space to practice, warm up, or perform the workout. And then also chalk or wax. If you're using that on the rig, make sure you're cleaning it right after you use it because the next CrossFitter that gets on it will probably see a surprise and not be ready for that.
Yeah, or they might not like it. There's so many things, but like coming from a short person stance, my tall people, like, sometimes, I shouldn't say tall people. Sometimes when you go to a shorter bar and you can go to a little bit of a higher bar because you don't have to jump to it, you just have to grab it. I really don't like seeing my short people grab like a big, huge box to go to the higher bar. Yeah, granted, if we have a big class and it's just, that's what we got to do. That's what we got to do. But if you guys know like height and like when we're kipping, I don't want you to just grab and go from a dead hang. You could kind of jump into it. Like, you know?
Yeah, because let's be real, I can't use anything other than the short bar, so.
But I also tell everybody at the beginning of, like, if I have a big class, like, make sure your bike is in front of the rig area that you need for this because we can't do crossovers.
Oh, yeah.
Because now if you're crossing all the way to the other side of the gym because that's where that bar is open.
It's a pain in the butt.
Yeah. And that person on the other side is crossing. I'll sometimes even be like, hey, why don't you guys just switch spots? Mm-hmm. You know, or, hey, if you get scared to ask somebody, I will do that whole... Do you mind if we switch to that side for so-and-so? Like, I'll do it for you. But yeah, if we have equipment out, I'm always like, hey, be mindful where you need to go. Sometimes we have long days and you guys look at me like, what? I'm like, be mindful where you need to go. And they're like, well, where do I need to go? Where do I need to be mindful of? And it's like, oh, for the gym. Okay. And then I'll go, okay, now everybody go to the rig where your spot's supposed to be. Is that where your bike is? Right. No, let's switch it up.
Yeah, that's definitely the best etiquette for sure.
But at the same time, like, also don't be rude. Like, people do put their water bottles down or their spots down for their spot. Like, if you see a water bottle or a thing, you can always ask, like, hey, is this from last class?
Or is this taken? I usually just ask.
And sometimes I'll see who grabs a spot and I'll let you know. If there's like a water bottle, a towel, like something there by that rower or by that rig, it's because somebody has already claimed it. I've been in situations where people have straight up moved my stuff and I'm like, I had my stuff here because I was in the restroom. And this is my height. And now I have to go grab a box, but I guess sometimes I'm that. I will say there was one incident where I straight up was like, Trisha, I need that spot. And Trisha was like, okay. And I was like, I'm surprised you didn't throw anything at me because I ended up not using that spot. See, I am the don'ts of this, guys. So
yep. There's a perfect example.
Yeah, I have been in that. But again, being mindful of your environment, being mindful of others, helping each other out.
All right, now let's move on to barbells. So there's lots of rules that come with barbells, but I think one of the biggest ones that's a big pet peeve for Coach Chris is not dropping the barbell high off of the floor, especially when you're holding any plates that are less than 15 pounds. And I think we've heard this across the board.
His rule is 10.
Oh, is it 10?
I know. You guys have said 15. I go, no, I asked for 10. No, 10.
Okay, so anything 10 or less
so
is 15, no bouncing.
Yeah. Well, you drop it with those 5
well, then
plates,
I guess my standard's better because I say 15. Not 10,
yeah.
You know.
I mean, when people say 15, I'm like, well, if that's your rule, that's good. Our biggest thing is 10 because the 10s, I have literally seen them bend and break in half.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so it's not like we're just saying it because we don't want to hear it.
Right.
They're thinner. And so when they bend and they go to an angle, they're going to break.
Oh man.
15s too, like I feel there's like a video of like etiquette of dropping, and I'm like with the 10s, I'm usually like, guide it to the ground.
Fair.
15s drop above your waist. 25s to me and above, you can drop them at a higher. But like I feel like 15s could be dropped at your waist, so bringing it down to your waist and then dropping it from there. Yeah.
That works. And then, of course, making sure to clean your barbell after each use and returning it back, whether it's the plates or returning your barbell back to its designated area in the gym, is always the proper gym etiquette. In our gym, they do have them organized by color. So that's usually how we do that. And then, like Blake mentioned, do not load up your barbell or deload early. Just waiting until the whole class has completed the workout is the most gracious thing to do.
And then going into dumbbells, like we don't drop the dumbbells at a when they're high off the floor. Rather placing them down if you can. Make sure that you clean and return the dumbbell to their designated area after every workout. We have a spot and it is per weight. So we have our 10s in a place, 15s in a place, 20, 25, 30s, 35s. So we try not to do our 45s where our 15s are usually at. We have them in their designated areas. So like if your gym does that too, please be respectful of that. So then it's easy for those people who can go to the 15s, they're right there for them. And the people who go for the 50s, they're right there for them. Then we have chalk. Keep the chalk in the bucket. If you guys have buckets, some people have trays, some people have stands. Like the biggest thing is keeping it in the chalk area, not grabbing it and painting your body with it and then shaking it out all over the place.
I know, I always get so annoyed when I see it all over the floor, and then it's like, great, I'm wearing a black like top and now the chalk's all over it. Yeah.
I mean, it's hard. So like sometimes when it's on the floor, it's because like we've sprayed it and it just goes in, because we have cleaning people come in on Wednesdays or Thursdays and then on Sundays. So like the gym does get cleaned and we do spray things down and we try to mop those areas. But yeah, in between classes, it's hard. And I remember this last week, Heather cleaned and I got bits and pieces. I was like, I'm so sorry, I will clean it up. After she cleaned everything. But yeah, there like comes a point where you're like breaking the chalk in your hand and just walking around with it, compared to we have buckets and staying near the bucket and chalking up your hand. We don't need like big chalk clouds everywhere.
Yeah, Coach Chris always told me, he's like, if you're going to put it, like clap it in the bucket.
Yeah, clap it in the bucket.
And then just go out is usually how I do it.
Yeah, because I've walked through chalk clouds unexpectedly and been like, oh. Yeah. I've also dropped chalk before or accidentally spilled it. I've done all of these.
Yeah, have you heard of chalk lung?
Oh,
no, just kidding. Imagine.
That's real?
I don't know. Now I'm curious.
But
oh my
I think
God, chalk lung is a real thing.
Oh, jeez.
Right? Chest pain, difficulty breathing, extreme tiredness. Ooh, interesting.
But I wonder if that's like from making
chalk or
something.
It's more like inhaling it.
Yeah.
I was curious. Just sound like that.
But yeah, that's the
do's and don'ts. Right? I know that was a lot. It sounded like we were in school telling you guys, don't do
what
this.
to do. Don't do that. Like a lot of the do's had don'ts.
Right? Time out for you. But I think overall, the big message or theme of this whole episode is we want to promote a safe, happy, conducive gym culture. And the best way for us to ensure that is that everyone in the gym is being respectful and encouraging to others, and just making sure that we're providing that sense of community that we all love and keeps us coming back to the gym. So remember, as members of a gym, we are sharing a space with other athletes, and it is very important to be mindful of how we can keep each other safe. So do your part. Make your coaches and gym proud by following the etiquette rules of your gym. And if you have some time to spare, help a coach out with putting away equipment, maybe even helping them wipe, someone else's equipment. Don't worry, we won't be mad at it. If anything, we encourage it.
Yes, and a big thank you. I know I usually say to the coach, but a big thank you to our members at Kingdom and CrossFit for doing a lot of these things and helping us out. I appreciate it as a coach, so thank you so much. But But a big thank you to my co-host, Joycey.
Yay.
This episode was written by us, edited by us, and a shout out to you guys for listening. Our music is from SoundCloud and Upbeats. Finding are from barbin.com, Sugarwad, CrossFitRRG.com, and CrossFitKingtown.com, along with CrossFit.com. If you have any requests for an episode for us to go over or talk about, please message us at savagelyscaled@yahoo.com or savagelyscaled1.com. You can also message us on Instagram and TikTok at savagelyscaled.
Nice.
Yes. Please follow, like, subscribe, all that fun thing. Please leave a rating and review. We can only read them on Apple Podcasts at the moment. Spotify doesn't have that. They just have you rate us. But thank you to Amanda May 20,
Yay.
which is Coach Amanda, for leaving us an awesome
I love her.
review.
She's
on
one of the
Apple.
most supportive people on our podcast.
Yeah.
So much
She
love.
is. So thank you so much for that. If you would like a shout out,
Yeah. Dennis, I'm talking to you, man.
go review and rate us on Apple Podcast.
I think that's it.
Yeah. Oh, one last thing. Please share.
Yeah.
Please share.
Share it around town to your family, to your wives.
Around town, going around town.
That's what we hope happens with this podcast, that it goes around town.
And we also like, if you have any interactions on our Spotify, it does ask you what you think about this episode. Feel free to write something there too.
Yeah. We look forward to reading those.
And
Until we meet
at the whiteboard again. Bye.
Bye.